Recalculating Route, a show about taking a new direction with your life. Here's your host, Christee Atwood.
Welcome. It's that time of week when we say, it's time for Recalculating Route with Christee Atwood. And you say, who the heck is that and what the heck is that? It's a show that just deals with all kinds of interesting things and a little bit of unusual stuff, like tonight when we talk about my ghostly encounters. I want to go ahead and invite, first of all, my guest, Sarah Whitten, Grigsby, to come on camera with me so that we can see her on camera. Oh boy, here we go. Okay. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great. I am so excited you're here with me today. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're just going to invite people to tell their stories and join us in talking about those strange things that have happened that they just can't explain. So that's what we'll be doing through today. This is going to be a kick, isn't it?
Yeah.
I got in the spirit. I've got my candles back there, and I'm pretty sure it's a fire hazard. And I keep smelling something.
Got a fire hazard.
But this is going to be very exciting for us. I'm thrilled to be able to do this today. Let's see here. Okay, I've got everything set up. Looks like we're on Facebook and rolling. And I've got the screaming in the background of a cockatoo. Can't have any scarier feel than that. Oh, that screaming is my bird. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, and we got some people in the room who are going to be able to join us and talk to us too. Oh, good. I see Cherie is in the room, and you're going to love her. She wrote the book Haunted Lafayette, Louisiana. Ooh. And I got that David Atwood guy is in the room, but probably I'll just keep him off camera. Okay, I'm joking, David, just joking. Let's see here. Okay, and another guest. Okay, I'm going ahead and letting people in. By the way, folks, if you look at the description of this session in Facebook, you will see that there is a link there. And you are invited to come on in the room. I might turn off your camera for a second, just until we get everybody settled and everything. But you come on in the room, and then when you're ready to talk, you can send me a chat and say, I want to say something, and we will have you on screen with us, and you can tell your stories. All right. So in order to get started here, Sarah, shall we go ahead and share ours that we have going on?
Sure, you first.
Okay. So like, I've always been somewhat open-minded about the possibility of ghostly experiences and all that sort of thing. And so it's been very interesting. Oh, good. There's Cherie. There she, hi. Okay. In fact, yeah. Okay, good. She's ready. No, but I've always been kind of open to the idea and everything, but I never felt like for sure, no doubt, there definitely is something going on. Well, then about, how many years ago has it been since we moved in this house? 12, 13, 14, I forget. But when we moved into this house, it's coming up on its 100th birthday in the next decade. And so it was a neat older house. We moved in, and we had this book, this chest of drawers. And for years, it had sat in our bedroom, and I would pass it every day going into the bathroom. Nothing about it, nothing unusual. We got to this house, and it was a little while after we got into the house. This shows you how often I dust. Then I finally decided I was going to dust. And when I did, and I got to the side of that thing, this is what I saw. It was scratched into the side of that chest of drawers that we've had all these years, and it said Mollie, Mollie, and it was scratched. And this is actually sideways and kind of a childlike little handwriting there. And so that was the first time I said, well, that can't be doubted too much. So, and Mollie apparently has been with us because we've had a lot of interesting activity in this house, and I'll tell a little bit more about that as we get through in the session. So how about you, Sarah? What is yours that you want to share?
Well, so I feel the way you do in that I feel extremely open to the possibilities of anything that is metaphysical, supernatural, alien. I usually say, I want to believe there are ghosts, for example. And I think that has to do with, just as I say, remaining open to the possibility. So when I was in ballet school in the Jurassic period, it was a long time ago.
I just love that.
I lived with a family in Connecticut, and they had an attic apartment. It wasn't a full apartment with a kitchen, but it was a lovely, long hallway and a full bath and a bedroom. And at the foot of my bed, which was against the wall, there was a half door that would go into an attic crawl space. And that will figure into my story at the end of this evening. For the moment, one night after a long day of 8 hours of dancing at ballet school, I was sound asleep. And as I recall, it was a windy night. And in the attic, of course, you could hear that, even better than on the lower floors. And you could hear outside the windows. And there was a window at the head of my bed, and there was one in a little alcove across the room from me. So I was sound asleep, and I had a sensation of a very strong wind in the room. The windows were not open, mind you, in the room. And it was coming from the foot of the bed. And so my nightgown was billowing outward because the wind was coming up, inside my pajamas, inside my nightie, as we used to say. And my head was being pressed against the headboard with the force of the wind. So I woke up, or came around, and I was frozen. And the rest of the night, I had the light on and was trying to read. I didn't dare turn the light off again. I just had the heebie-jeebies in a big way. So I was later told, and I didn't know this at the time, that when the temperature drops so dramatically in a room, and there are other things such as perhaps a wind, that means a spirit has entered the room. So that is a little bit of a lead-in to what I will tell you at the end of the show, another encounter which takes place in the same space.
Oh boy. I love it. It's a teaser. I like that. Okay, cool. Cool. Oh man. Okay, yeah, I wouldn't have gone back to sleep. No, not after that. No. Okay, so now, Cherie. Oh, I am so glad you were able to join us today, Cherie. Cherie Dastug Cohen is an amazing writer, and she has had so many interesting stories that she's discovered. Well, you wrote the book Haunted Lafayette, Louisiana, right?
Yes.
And then you also have other things that you got the websites that you've been dealing with, and you also, of course, have a series of novels now based on ghostly happenings. Tell us about the stuff you got with that.
Well, I like ghost stories. I've always I've written about them for newspapers for a long time because I'm interested in it. And so when I decided to start a mystery series, I just had to put ghost in it. So I have a mystery series called Viola Valentine Mysteries, and there's a ghost. Well, there's lots of ghosts.
Yeah, I love that. That was kind of interesting because this woman actually connects with ghosts who are of a certain kind. So like if certain people connect with different kinds of ghosts, and hers are water?
Yeah, I made it up. I made this thing up called skank. So you become a skank, which means if you have a certain trauma that happens to you, then you see ghosts that have died by that same trauma. So it stands for specific, I got to remember.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
but
specific apparitions, basically.
Yeah. That was such a cool concept because you could kind of understand that happening if that were the case, you know?
Yeah.
So all of this great, exciting fiction stuff that you deal with probably was prompted a lot by some of the studies that you've done and the places and things that you found out about haunted places, and a lot of them in the South, huh?
Mm-hmm. Oh, the South has a lot. And I'm from New Orleans, so,
Well, yeah.
that's like a, epicenter of ghost stuff. It's,
So So when somebody says, "Tell me a ghost story. Tell me something scary you've seen or heard about," what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, Christy, you and I went to a really creepy cemetery. Remember that?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, I do.
Well, it's funny because I reviewed this book about a man who does ghost hunting, and he said the only place that freaked him out was that cemetery. So I just had to go there. And I went there the night before you arrived, and we had a weird, very weird experience. It's very creepy at night. This is up near Marksville. And we drove up, and the guy turned off the engine, and it sounded like someone was revving the engine. It was like, it made this really weird noise. And we're like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm not doing anything." At that point, I was like, "I can leave now." Because I'm not scared easily, but boy, that was freaky.
That
It
would
was
do
just
it.
freaky.
That would,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh God.
It's out in the middle of nowhere. When you and I went, it was during the day. It wasn't quite so
Yeah,
bad.
it wasn't scary then, but you got pictures that had strange things in them, didn't you? I mean,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
interesting
I'm
looking.
on the fence about the orbs. I mean, because Louisiana has so many bugs, you never know what it is. But man, I got a weird orb on that one.
That-
So,
That's strange. Okay, I'm gonna close this
Yeah.
other picture so that we can all see each other a little bit better.
oh look,
There you go.
I still got
You've
got my
Leanne
magazine.
Rimes behind you. I wasn't gonna ask. I wasn't gonna ask.
That's the magazine I write for. I did that for our editorial meeting. I got to get that out of there.
Your magazine. Okay, we get it. It's all right.
That's so funny.
I love
Sorry.
it. I love it. No, Leanne Rimes is behind you. It's okay. Okay. So, like, what would you think of as the most haunted place that you've ever visited?
Most haunted place. Probably Eureka Springs.
That's such a
Maybe,
cool
and New Orleans has got its fair share.
yeah.
But Eureka Springs is kind of a little town, and there's so much there. And then there's that really creepy hotel. So, which is what the first book's about, which for all your readers out there, somebody wonderful narrated my first novel.
Oh, I think I remember her.
Yeah, you did such a good job.
That is so kind. Yes, I did the audiobook for a
Ghost of a Chance.
Of the Viola.
And you were amazing. You were
That was
absolutely
fun.
amazing.
That was a fun book to do. It was exciting.
Can you tell us something about the creepy hotel?
Sure. It's this hotel is a Victorian hotel. And so there's that, and there's some Victorians that are still hanging around. But this man, it kind of went downhill, and in the 30s this man came along, and he was a medical quack. So he buys the hotel and he promises to cure cancer. So all these poor people come in, they pay all this money, and they check in, and he gives them this very strange, the stuff they used to sell in the old days. That was mostly alcohol and a bunch of others.
Snake oil salesman, huh? Yeah.
Right. I think it was watermelon seeds. Very strange. And of course, some of them would die, and he would just keep writing to their relatives saying they're doing great. And and what's really creepy is that the base of the hotel is an incinerator. So he used to burn these people.
Oh my.
I know, very creepy. But he got, I think they got him on mail fraud because he was writing to the people, and he got a year in jail, and that was it. There's a lot of ghosts in that place.
I bet some perturbed ghosts too.
Yeah,
Jeez.
and then they take you through the hotel, and at the very end, they take you to the morgue at the bottom, which is where you kind of go, ooh.
Okay, fine. Wow.
Yeah, the morgue was weird, and ghost hunters went there, and they got a full body apparition in the morgue.
Oh my.
So
That's wild. That reminds David, if you want to come in, I turned off his camera earlier because I was just getting started. I think I hurt his feelings. But David worked at a place where it had been a hospital in the past, I think, and it was one of those where downstairs, I think they had a morgue, wasn't it, David?
Wow.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Here, there you can start your video there. There you go.
There you go.
Yay!
Hi, David.
Oh, he's scary. He's scary.
Ooh.
So,
Yeah, that was Guaranteed Broadcasting on Government Street in downtown Baton Rouge. it had been an old hospital. And they got the building, refurbed it, but you can't just get rid of a morgue in the basement. They were now using it for just file storage. So every now and then we'd get brave and go down those little stairs and go look down into the morgue. Very creepy. Never saw anything, never heard anything, but I didn't like being up that station at night by myself on the air. And I did 7 to midnight for a while, because you're always seeing things out the side of your eye. But we had full-time security guards, so that's probably all it was.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
Yeah, very creepy morgue, though, at the Guarantee Building in Baton Rouge.
it has
Huh. Good to
strange
know.
vibes. Yeah, that was interesting. And actually, the radio station I worked at, over across the river from Baton Rouge in Port Allen, I had an experience there with a ghost feel, sounds one night on the air, because I worked from midnight to 6 in the morning. That's what you do when you have to. And I remember one night hearing somebody walking down the hall, and so I was sure somebody was there. So and I had the control room door because it's middle of the night, nobody else is around, and the steps came to the door. So I turned around and said, "Hey," and there was nobody there. And I searched the whole place.
Wow.
I was so nervous after that the boss ended up going, and getting me a little pistol and said, "Here you go." Like, I don't think that's going to help, whatever that was.
Wow.
Yeah.
K-Bon is haunted.
Really?
Yeah, you know where it is? It's like
I've heard of
Eunice or something.
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard all kinds of stories about that. What's with radio stations? That's funny.
It's disc jockey.
They-
It's okay. The guy in the room is a disc jockey. I know, but it's one of those things.
They want to be on the radio.
They can never give up radio. That's the thing,
And they probably have better ratings than me.
Doubtful.
Oh my gosh. And Alexandria, Louisiana, where we are, is amazing with how many unusual occurrences we have here. We've had the ghost hunters came back here twice, I think it was. It was like, really? We've got that much stuff going on?
Yeah,
You
But,
do.
Bentley.
Yeah, the Bentley
One
Hotel
place, yeah.
here. Uh-huh.
And the Irish bar across the street.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Finnegan's Wake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And that,
the Diamond Grill and a
Yeah.
bunch of those all have
And-
ghost presences. Yeah.
Are those places where people have seen apparitions?
Oh, Sheree, what were some of the things that they saw? Do you remember?
were you with me when we went to the bar?
Yeah, of course. It was a bar. I was there.
Ghost and alcohol. Yeah, and the waitress said she saw stuff in the bar, just weird stuff. I think it was a woman that's haunting that place. I forget what's at the Bentley. People just hear all kinds of weird stuff at the Bentley,
Mhm.
but I can't remember what the details were. Do you, David?
No, I just remember it was very creepy.
Yeah.
We'd be terrible tour guides, obviously, on this one, because we really don't remember details.
It's probably Earl Long, He gave his last speech from the Bentley, so.
As a matter of fact, the chair sitting behind me with a dog in it right now
That's right.
was sat in by Earl Long, our former governor, many years
Really?
ago. Yes.
Yes.
When he came to my father's printing office, he sat in
Wow.
that chair and planned his campaign with Dad, and so that
Wow.
stays there. And
Oh, I think I see him behind you.
I wouldn't be surprised.
You can see Christee's ghost in my screen.
Isn't that great? Woo!
Ooh.
It's reflecting off her fireplace.
Sheree, do you have a favorite ghost story? And if so, can you tell it or no? Will you give something away from your book?
Oh no! What's my favorite ghost story? Gosh,
Or the one that
I-
excites you the most? Or
I went to Crawley. You know Crawley, where life is rice and easy.
It's a little town in
Rice.
Louisiana.
I know so little about Louisiana. I apologize.
Quite all right.
It's the rice capital of the world or something like that. But I went there because they have an opera house. And the lady who I interviewed, she was like, oh, this, I didn't see anything. And I thought, okay, it's just all talk. And then we talked for 2 hours and she went on and on. So she never saw anything. But, and then she said, go talk to this guy. And then that guy said, go talk to this woman. And it was like this whole street of about 8 blocks, just one ghost story after another. And they were all really good. So I think my favorite was just that collection in Crawley. But I don't know, the opera house is weird. Apparently someone hung himself from the he got a bad review and he hung himself.
Understand? Yeah, I felt like it a few times myself.
But yeah. But there's that guy, and there's a woman in white, and a man with a top hat, and it just goes on and on. Kids. So I like those, the ones that have a whole bunch of people. Keeps it fun.
At Universal Studios, there were no ghosts there.
Christee,
None?
do you remember at Universal?
I can't remember when we worked there if there were anything.
Jaws?
The ghost of Bruce.
That was the name of the shark. That's right.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
I don't remember haunted stories there.
Well, I guess
That's
they wouldn't have been privy to, tell the tour guides, because they probably would not have wanted y'all to pass along ghost stories on the
Possibly
tour.
not.
Yeah.
I mean, until the Halloween tour started, and then it was very creepy, but it was all invented.
Mm.
I was head writer the first time around, but it was all,
Really?
it was all made up. Yes. So
Cool.
I don't remember. We worked with a guy, Steve, and I don't know if you would remember him, Christee, Steve Bott, but he wanted to create a creepy Hollywood tour, limousine tour. And he and I worked together, and we took a walk up into the Hollywood Hills one night, and he was telling me horror stories.
Oh,
I was
God.
terrified the whole time. I thought, I don't want to do this. It's bad karma. Anyway, it didn't happen. But
Probably a good thing. But isn't it amazing? Oh, by the way, which hotel is it? Lori was asking which hotel in Eureka Springs was the one. She stayed at the Basin Hotel. What was the one that was haunted that you went to, Cherie?
It's called the Crescent Hotel, but the Basin Hotel is their sister property, and they have ghosts too.
Oh, they do.
I did both their tours. Of course.
Good. You're a good travel writer. You do what you're supposed to do. I love that. Isn't it funny, though, how many of these stories we hear little bits and pieces, but we can't remember all of them. And it's so frustrating because it's like I have a million stories, that I've heard, and I'm trying to think of some of those. Although I will admit now, this house has really gotten me thinking a lot more about other things going on because it is pretty busy. Although since we brought all the stray cats in, it's harder to tell which ones might be Molly and which ones are actually the cats, So, but
the kitchen was always very active.
That is our active space.
In what way?
Lots of movement in there. Bottles would fly across the room. We once had a curtain rod fly out of the window across the room.
Wow.
We once had a wicker basket that we kept on top of the refrigerator flew across the room.
Wow.
Not
That's
that long
creepy.
ago. Remember when I was
poltergeist?
Huh?
Did you think poltergeist?
And we feel like there's somebody more than a playful thing because it seems like some of them are connected to stuff. Like the time just recently when I was downstairs going through a lot of family memorabilia and came back upstairs and was telling David about it. He was in the living room and I was telling him about the name of the relative and I was working on something in the kitchen and all of a sudden the paper towel roll just flies off the counter. And about the same time, the name of that relative came out on the TV because it was the name of a football player also. And it was the same name as this relative. And they said it out loud. And David and I were like, okay, hi. nice to see you, Uncle. You know,
Wow.
but that was really interesting. That was not that long ago. So
That's so cool.
yeah.
Very cool.
Wow.
I grew up for maybe from when I was 6 to 12 in a house in New Hampshire that was over 200 years old. And we thought we had a poltergeist. I mean, I think my parents sort of joked about it, but I thought we had a very mischievous ghost. I don't remember, any stories about the history of the house or anything creepy, but we each had our own bedrooms. And I remember being in my bedroom alone at night, of course, and a shade would snap up, and just with a pretty loud sound in the dead of night in the quiet, and we used to think that was a mischievous ghost. And then one night my father had read us what I thought was an Edgar Allan Poe story, and I've been trying to find out what it was, and my sister has recently said it might have been Sherlock Holmes. But the story was, if anybody knows what this is, please tell me.
Okay, I'll watch.
In the story, a murder is committed in a room, and there's no way that anyone could have gotten in that room. So someone is poisoned. I think they know that the person is poisoned, or a healthy person is found dead, but there's no sign anywhere that somebody could have gotten in. And it turns out, I'm sorry to tell you the punchline, but this has to do with the ghost story. It turns out that the person in the adjacent quarters was sending a poisonous snake through the radiator.
Oh,
Wow.
cool.
Oh.
Bell?
Wicked story. Wicked.
It might have been the Speckled Band, which is Sherlock Holmes. I
Oh,
thought
that sounds
Edgar Allan Poe, but when my sister and I we're working on it.
okay.
Does that sound familiar, David? You're looking.
No, it's just what a great story, though. I love
story.
that. Yeah.
So, in
plot.
this old house where we had, the latch doors, and there were 3 chimneys and 6 fireplaces and low ceilings, all the old house things you think of. We had baseboard radiators, right? And they probably had been put in, more recently, but they were those metal radiators all around where the molding is,
Mhm.
And so not long after my father read us that story, I was in my room alone again.
Oh, jeez. Thanks, Dad.
And in the story, there was a description of a metallic clang, which was, the radiator door closing behind the snake or something.
Oh.
And a
No.
fishing sound. And I heard both those. Like, I heard a metallic thing from the radiator, and I was confused. Anyway, I think I thought it was a mischievous ghost. I don't think I thought there was a poisonous snake in my room, but I had the creeps big time. I spent a lot of time with my covers over my head.
Poor baby.
Aw. That could have happened in Louisiana just on its own.
That's very true. So true. I know.
Maybe an alligator.
And I'll snake up the toilet thing.
Yes, the old urban legends of that stuff.
Nice,
Yes,
thank you.
absolutely.
Or a heart attack from a roach. we have very ugly roaches here
We
in
do.
Louisiana.
They're big. They're
They're large.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the good thing about having a house that could be haunted is you don't get many guests surprising you. We've Sheree, you're one of the few people who's been, sturdy enough to come and stay here for a while, but I've had people.
I love your house.
Yeah, well, it's David, your sister. I think we kind of flipped her out that time because we were sitting in the living room and we looked back towards the kitchen and something flies off the top of the refrigerator across the room, and we're like, "Oh, Molly's here." And
Wow.
he was like, "Okay, look at the time. Wow, it's late."
There's the Motel 6 down the road.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I like to think it's because of the ghost that people don't want to stay here, but I pretty much know it's because there's 7 cats in this house.
I was going to continue, but now I'm not so sure. I don't mind the cats or the dogs or the bird. I will love. They can all sleep with me, but the ghosts will make me a little nervous.
But, we're not really sure lately. We haven't noticed the ghost quite as much because, well, the cats make so much noise and everything. I think personally the ghost got tired of us and left for a while. So-
Wait, is this David's sister? The one who
Yeah,
saw the freaky thing on the levee?
that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Handle
Sorry.
that, but
Yes.
you know,
Sorry.
you throw one little item across the room, and there she goes. I tell you.
Is Kathy here? Is Kathy in the chat or anything? Have you seen her?
Let's see here. I'm not seeing her in there right
Okay, all
now.
I
So-
thought,
Because I'd like to hear about that levee guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Bigfoot on the levee.
Yeah, I heard
Yes.
about that for many years from my childhood in
Wow.
New Orleans. Her and Chuck
Remember enough to
together.
tell it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
tell it.
Yeah, there was a popular place that the teens in New Orleans in our area used to like to go. This deserted area where they'd all go party, man. And I believe there was either a dirt road that was on a rise or maybe the top of a levee. And they were able to look down and they saw there was a car, an old dilapidated car that was just rusted out down at the bottom of that levee. And they saw two eyes inside the car. They watched it, and those two eyes rose out of the car, kept rising, and they said it would have probably had to have been about something 8 or 9 feet tall for those eyes to have ridden that far over the top of the car.
Whoa.
And that's when they left.
I think that's a good choice. Once I see
Yeah.
something 8 feet tall or so, I'm just gonna, I'm moving on. Now.
No,
If you're a ghost, it's been nice visiting with you. Please try a different
It's all
color eyes
yours.
next time.
Enjoy your car.
Don't forget to tip
that's
your
very
waitress.
creepy.
Now, were they drinking at the time?
Oh, I can't imagine that they would
Probably.
be imbibing now.
Probably.
It's the 70s.
But didn't they
Of
go
course.
back? Didn't they go back the next day and the place was like mangled or something? Something weird? No? I don't know.
Well,
He doesn't
probably.
remember.
I don't remember that because I know
He
you
Yeah.
wouldn't remember.
heard the whole story, and I've just heard it, bits and pieces.
Mhm.
It's a good story.
Yeah, it is.
And they
kinda
stuck
wicked.
to it the whole time. They never varied off that story. So
And there you go.
I think they believe it.
Okay.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. I just amazes me the New Orleans hotels, how many have haunted rooms and how many places down there have stuff. I guess you kind of expect it in a place like New Orleans. There's been such
Yeah.
such a range of things that have happened there.
Mhm.
But I keep wondering, what, like, remember the hotel? There's a hotel down there that the corn stalk on the fence post
Yeah.
has that real haunted room that people won't stay in.
That's not the LaLaurie mansion, right?
Oh, no,
No.
that one's really scary though.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wicked.
That's like
That-
the worst.
Yeah, because they were like abusing their servants.
Slaves. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I remember of tours of New Orleans, and I thought it was incredibly creepy, but that there was a great deal of hidden abuse
Hmm.
of slaves. And
Yeah. In the attic. She
Wow.
had them
Yeah,
tortured them in the attic.
yeah, exactly. And so there's a lingering creepiness, I think.
Yeah.
I felt it was just, there was horror around the periphery.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's
Didn't someone famous buy that place? What's his name? A celebrity bought it for a while. I think they sold it.
hmm
I don't remember.
I had a couple experiences at hotels there.
Really?
Yeah, the Bourbon Orleans. I went there to hear a psychic talk, and while he was talking, the doors of toward the balcony just kind of opened and closed, and I was sitting there going, "Well, that's interesting." But then I thought, "Well, it could be anything." And then he started doing this thing with flashlights, where you turn them just a little off, and the ghost can turn them on and off. And so, man, these things went to town. And apparently he said there were little kids running around, but I had a friend who worked there who got a ghost on a camera, like a picture of one that was incredible. Yeah. So that's a good
Whoa.
one. If you ever want to, that and the Montleon,
Oh yeah.
it's a bunch of ghosts there.
Yes. Yes. Oh, Lori says it was Nick Cage who bought that.
That's it. Yes.
Oh, that fits.
That
Yeah.
Good to have a New Orleans native on there. Okay.
What? What? I love Nick Cave.
Hey, those of you who are online on Facebook, I want to see what is the most haunted place that you've ever heard of or been. Just type it in the chat there. If you don't want to come on and talk to us, that's fine. Type it in chat. Any of the scary places that you've seen or been. I'd love to know what some of y'all's are. It's amazing though. With some people, it just becomes a part of their lives. Having a ghost around the house is no big deal. And I think that's kind of a cool thing in some ways, because if we stop thinking about it in the ghost way and start just thinking about it in a spirit way, and that, the way energy changes over, then it does become a little more friendly. Now, I know there's a lot of situations. Oh, go ahead, Sarah.
Oh, I was just going to say, unless they're malevolent.
That's exactly.
You don't want those around.
That's one of the things, because, apparently when you're angry on Earth, you're still angry afterwards. So that comes out in those kinds of people. But there's actually something kind of comforting in knowing that some people could still be with us. Let's see. All right. Any of y'all online, if you got any good stories for us, either come check on the link or go ahead and type it into the comments section. Okay. Anything else up?
I was going to tell you the second half of my creepy story.
Okay, we're ready. We can take it.
Okay, so meanwhile, back at the attic apartment, one night I was sleeping heavily after 8 hours of vigorous dance ballet school. I know I already said that. And I was aware, I must have been on my stomach, I think, because I remember turning, I was aware of a presence. And when I turned enough to be able to see, there was an elderly woman kneeling at the side of the bed. And it was a white image, and as I recall, or, sort of a translucent white, a classic kind of, what we think of as a ghostly image. She had her hair in a bun, and I thought I might recognize her, or I thought I might know who she was. Anyway, I turned on the light, spent the rest of the night reading.
A lot of reading done in that room.
Trying to read, looking over the edge of the book. Anyway.
Huh.
So not long after that, probably the next day, I told the woman of the house that story. And she said, well, that's interesting because an elderly woman committed suicide in the attic.
Oh.
Sometime before we bought the house.
Oh my.
So that's my other story.
Huh. They left that little detail out, I guess.
That was before they had that ghost in the attic law, huh?
Wow.
Wow.
Wow, that's a really cool story.
I'd have to tell that ghost that, if you're going to stay there, your goblin butt's going to be paying some rent, pal. And don't leave.
You're gonna make
don't
Molly
touch
angry.
my baloney.
I can't take him anywhere. And that's kind of what we wanted to be able to do tonight, is just kind of open it up and say, there's all kinds of possibilities out there. If you're interested in finding out more, there's some cool groups on Facebook. Actually, there's that Ghost Stories of Louisiana, I think it's called. And Cherie, what do you have that they could look at on the website? What's the one you have?
I have a blog called Weird, Wacky, and Wild South, and it has ghost stories on it because I just got to put them somewhere. And then we have a Haunted Deep South Facebook page if you want to. And some people, put their stuff on there. But I think you're right. I think there's one about Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So okay. Yep.
I have a question for y'all.
What?
So why is it that they come around 2 or 3 in the morning? Why is that the magic hour? I've always wondered that because they talk about it being the.
Yeah, I've heard I've just heard in writings about that being the time when the veil between the worlds is the thinnest. I don't know if that's honest or not, but.
And I certainly would say in the wee hours. I don't know that I knew that it was that specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would say both those things happened to me in the wee hours, so possibly that was the time.
Well, I guess Molly's throwing stuff in the kitchen all hours, right?
Well, yeah, she's just active. I mean, well, if she did it in
That's
the
so
middle of the night,
cool.
we wouldn't know because the cats are doing their 3 o'clock run, bam, 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 down the halls. I have
You know,
no
hey,
idea what she's doing.
I remember also, I'd forgotten about that. A couple of years ago, because we have the doors with the latches,
Oh yeah.
the bathroom door got locked from the inside once. So I had to kind of do the credit card trick,
Right.
to slip. But that's
Wow.
never happened. That has never happened. That's one time that's ever happened in this house. And I don't know how in the world that latch could have possibly gotten locked on the inside with nobody in there. Like,
Huh.
Okay.
Oh,
spray before you leave.
So I guess we probably ruined the possibility of ever being able to sell our house at this point.
Psychologically impacted property. Yeah.
Oh, well, they know if we lived in it, it's psychologically impacted anyway. So. But y'all, this was cool. This was some good stuff, y'all. I appreciate it. And I just wanted to get people talking about this kind of stuff again because it's fun, it's interesting, and it makes us keep our minds more open and willing to think about any possibilities that might be out there. And that's part of what I want to try to do with my show is keep our minds open and keep thinking about things that might be the case.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I want to thank y'all for joining me on this today. This was fun having y'all here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. So y'all can say bye to everybody. And I'll say bye and remind y'all that next week, 6 o'clock, same bat station, we will be doing this again. And who knows what we'll be talking about here on Recalculating Route. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Recalculating Route. Join us next Wednesday evening at 6 Central